Hey Luke, how are you doing?
Good, James. I like I like your shirt.
Thanks. Hey, you really haven't had that much time to look at these guys, but is there anything just right away that stands out to you? Is there anyone missing? Is there anyone that looks incredible? What's sort of your first glance?
Yeah, it was really exciting to get back on the court today and play like group basketball. Normally you have the month of September where guys are playing 5-on-5, and you kind of start to see and get a feel for guys, and they get into shape. So, one thing I noticed is we got to be in much better shape, which is to be expected. We had some really nice moments. The energy was great. The buy-in was great. A lot of the things we looked to put in, I was very pleased with. And then there was a lot of sloppy play too. For day one was when we got to the scrimmaging and put an emphasis on our spacing and our speed and getting the ball in and out every time. Got a little sloppy, but to be expected. And different players had different nice moments throughout. So overall, pleased with the first day.
You've got a lot of players. How are you going to manage all of these mouths that you got to feed?
Yeah, well, well, I think one of the things we talked about was the how chaotic this season will be, and it's for one reason or another that we're going to need everybody this year. So it's one of those things that we create an all-in environment, and then we know like you guys are going to have to step up and be ready to make plays. It happened to us last year, just with injuries, and different. Now with where the world is at now and what we're going through, you got a lot of different things to manage through. So part of training camp, James, is to see and to figure out who's looking the best, who's looking the sharpest, and put together that original rotation. And then from there, if you're not in that original rotation, is knowing to stay sharp, because we're gonna need you at some point through the season.
Sean Cunningham.
Hey, what's up, Luke?
Sean?
Did you have a full complement, full roster, your full roster in the arena today practicing?
No, we did not. We had when we came back from before we got back in the facility, and we did we're going through the NBA protocol as far as the safety stuff is concerned. We had a couple positive tests, so before we opened up, those guys were put in quarantine. We have some guys that because we haven't played yet, and there was been no 5-on-5 contact. Some guys from physical reasons we held out just because we didn't feel safe yet with the injury risk part of it. But we had enough guys in there to get 3 teams and do some good, fun up and down scrimmaging. So we didn't have a full group, but we had enough to play ball.
Right on. And then, as you kind of get to that point where hopefully you will have that full complement of players, whether it's soon or down the road, these first few days, I think, what do you identify as the biggest priorities for your team?
Well, from a mindset, we talked about being ready to adapt to anything, and doing that with the attacking mindset of like, look, we're going to control what we can, and then going out as a group and being able to really put out our best effort, no matter what's going on or who's in and who's out. As far as on the court, we're putting in again some of the secondary offense, and putting a huge emphasis on getting the ball out as quickly as possible and getting up that court as quickly as possible from an offensive end. And then we have Rex with some defensive of concepts that we feel are going to be good for our group this year, that we spent some time focused on today.
Marshall Harris.
Hey, Luke, I'm sure you've seen the news about the Portland Trailblazers having to shut down their facility because of the COVID-19 thing. Are there any contingencies in terms of that's the team you're supposed to play less than a week from now? What's your understanding of how that goes if they can't play for some reason?
Yeah, I mean that just again goes back into the theme that we shared and talked about as a team before practice today, which was kind of acknowledge, accept, and attack, and we have to acknowledge the fact that it's going to be a crazy season. And I didn't find out about the Portland thing till I was walking here to do media from practice, and if that's the case and those games get canceled, we have to be ready to adapt. And we can't sit around and pout about it and complain about it. It's got to be change the mindset, control what we can control and attack it. So if that is the case, hey, too bad that we don't get some games, but that means we got 4 extra days of practice with no travel. So, we're going to look at it from that side. But that's part of what the preseason is about too, is getting a feel for how this will work when the regular season starts. So as of now, I don't know what that answer is, but I know we'll be ready and prepared to go down either path.
If you guys do play Portland, what's your reasonable expectation? You just talked about your guys, not obviously being in basketball shape just yet. What's your reasonable expectation between today and Friday of what you can do in terms of progress and just being ready to do something?
Yeah. I mean, we're going to use these games. We're going to, just like we are in the practices, as far as like we understand where we're at right now. And even though these games are coming up and they're right around the corner, and we want to compete and try to win, it's also about not skipping any steps and building the habits with our group that we know are going to lead us to winning down the road. So, we're going to look to continue to work on those things that we're emphasizing right now into the games, even if that means we have more turnovers or we look sloppy at times. We probably won't play anyone 30 plus minutes, but we'll work with our sports science team, see how much we can play our, some of our top guys, and we'll play them that much to kind of help continue to push us to get into game shape.
Jason Jones.
Hey, Luke, how you doing?
Can't hear you too much, Jason.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
I got you.
Okay, yeah. Hey, how you doing?
Jason.
Okay, you kind of touched on, I was going to ask about Marvin when you talked about easing guys back in. Just with the way this whole thing is set up right now, how do you plan out what guys you're going to ease in, and what do you kind of set that plan up, knowing that you may or may not get preseason games depending on how things go?
Yeah, that's where you gotta work closely with your sports science team, and we got a great group here that's done a lot of research. Because my answer as a coach is I want everyone to play all the time, but I work with them as far as when they feel they measure their loads every day when they're in the weight room, when they're on the court doing one-on-one stuff. We did conditioning tests with everybody day one when the gym opened up again, so we kind of have a solid baseline of where people are at, and then depending by individual, I meet with the sports science team and they kind of give me their thoughts on where we are as far as who can go full contact, who needs some more time, and whatnot.
And you talked about the emphasis on getting the ball out quickly, playing with a faster pace. Outside of last season, pretty much all the teams you've been around and coached in the last maybe 8-10 years have been teams that have played fast. Is getting back to this also a comfort thing for you, just because it's what you pretty much have done?
Yeah, it is, Jason. And the teams I've coached, whether head coach or assistant coach, we've always played fast. The teams I've played on, we weren't. I grew up believing that to be a big part of how the game should be played. It's fun for players, it's fun for fans. You get up and down. So yeah, part of that is getting back into the values that I believe in as a coach. And putting much more of an emphasis on it this year. Last year again, it was we had we had a lot go on last year, but it is something as far as how I believe the game should be played.
Matt George.
Hi, Luke. You shared with us when we first spoke with you that in normal circumstances with these many young players, it would be a process for you well into the season to get to where you want to be. Now with COVID-19 added on top of that, it should take even longer. In your mind or by your staff standards, at what point would you like to see things really start to click with this team? Are we talking mid-season, end of the season, early on in the season?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see it click from day one. I think we're going to continue to be positive and continue to build towards that. There's never a right correct answer for that. It just, with different teams, it's different amounts of time, and as long as the team's continuing to get better and you're seeing that progress, it's going to happen. Looking back at last season again, I think it finally clicked for us as we got to the All-Star break, and coming out of All-Star break, where we're just we're playing at a very consistent, solid level. There's some teams that have been together for a long time that they kind of ease their way into it and then they find it. And there's other teams every year. Phoenix, for example, came out of the gates last year hot, ready to go. We're looking for that to be us. But as long as the progress and the work is happening, then we're happy with our guys.
I'll kind of rephrase it a little bit. At what point, I guess, are you expecting it to really click, or at what point would you be concerned if it's not where you expect it to be?
There's not like a certain date. It's like, oh, by now, if it doesn't happen, we're in big trouble. We don't think in those terms. We think in the terms of what do we need to do today to get better. And then as long as we keep doing that, we're going to be fine. And then we have ultimate goals and bigger goals down the line. But it's, if you stay focused on what's important and what you're trying to get done each and every day, you let the other stuff play out as it comes.
A couple more here. Tony Harvey.
Hey, Coach. Glenn Robinson, he said he came in trying to get as much intel, much information that he can from other people part of the Kings organization. Worked out with De'Aaron and Buddy, Southern California in the offseason. What's your read on Glenn Robinson? He's been in the league for about 7 years. He's a 26-year-old veteran, but he has a lot of upside for someone who's been around 2 or 3 teams.
I'm sorry, I missed the player you're talking about.
Glenn Robinson.
Glenn, yeah. Glenn's great. He was a solid pickup for us that late in. I was surprised to still see him out there. Played for Golden State a little bit. Talked to Steve Kerr about him and got some really, really good feedback. But yeah, we're very excited that we got the opportunity to have him with us and get a look and see what he can do and see if he could help us win.
And though he can do a lot of things, how do you see him working in the strategy of defense? Because he seems like he's he loved to play on that end of the ball too. From games I've seen him play at Golden State.
Yeah. He's got good size on him, good length. A lot of the film we watched on him once we signed him, it appeared to be he was matched up with the other team's premier wing scorer. So yeah, we're looking at what he can do defensively just as much as what we're looking at as far as his abilities offensively.
Jason Anderson.
Hey, Luke, good to see you today. Can you give us just a little bit of a rundown on the guys who missed practice today due to injury, and just who's out and why?
Yeah, I could. I'm not going to, Jason, just because some of it has to do with COVID and I don't, there's so many rules right now that I'm still learning all of them, and I don't want to get my foot stuck in my mouth. So I'm just going to stay away from who missed for what reasons and everything else. But we're looking forward to getting guys back as they either get healthy or graduate through all the protocols that are out there.
Okay. Following up on a point that I think you were alluding to a little bit earlier about running and pace. And last season, did you feel like you guys were not in the kind of shape you needed to be at the start of the season? And you know, I know that was a complicated preseason schedule for you. And do you learn from that? And is there any way to make sure you are in the right shape given the circumstances with this preseason?
Yeah, you definitely learn from the different experiences, and you know, coming in with the new coaching staff last year and going to India and having, you know, the such a high injury risk on the players that had to do that much traveling. You know, we put the priority on getting the new terminology and the foundation of you know, the teaching aspects of the game. And then we had a game like a couple days later. So to answer that question, no, we were not in the type of shape we needed to be in to start an NBA season. And now we have our own, you know, different challenges this year. But with that being said, we do have part of our foundation set now because we've been here for a year. So we can quickly go through some of that stuff. And then we can put more of that time and emphasis on getting ourselves in shape and some more of those type of details.
Last one, G-Man.
Luke, a year ago, there was a lot of talk when training camp started about every session would begin with defensive talk, defensive drills, etc. Is that still the case this year? Because I hear a lot of talk about pace and tempo, etc.
Oh yeah, no, we first drilled for G-Man. Good to hear your voice. I don't see you, but it's good.
I'm incognito today.
We started practice again with defense today, and De'Aaron was very quick to point that out when he did. He's on top of everything. But to answer that question, yeah, we started with defense again today, and we got what we wanted to get through, and then kind of went into offense from there. And as the practice built up into the scrimmages and everything else.
I know you're just getting started in terms of everything, offense and defense. Last year, you frequently mentioned that you were targeting as a round number 35 3-point attempts per game. Any thought about that this year? Will that number change?
Yeah, well, so the funny thing, the interesting thing is 35 a game the prior year would have put us in the top 5, and we hit 35 point something last year, and I think we finished 13th or 14th. So that number is continuing to go up. We don't have a set number, but we do have a very firm understanding of the type of threes that we're trying to get this year. And, you know, we've shared that with our guys. We've changed the scoring system when we scrimmage to value the type of threes we want as more points than just 3. So we're looking to really, you know, to really continue to improve on what we believe is to be a good shot selection for our group.
Okay, thank you, Coach.